Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC 236 Holloway versus Poirier 2. So without further ado, let's get to our first prelim pick of the night and our first fight of the night. So in our first fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Brandon Davis versus Randy Costa. So looking at Randy Costa, I'm not going to get into his age and his height and all that stuff, but looking at Randy Costa, another one of these fighters coming from, I guess, the D leagues, coming up to the UFC, good record, decent fight team, trained under Joe Lozon, got a good overhand, some good body shots, some real good head kicks. He can throw them from just about any angle, any area. I'm not saying he's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but he's pretty good with head kicks, pretty good power, but less than stellar competition. But again, he's just a developing fighter, so of course you're not going to fight the best competition, but you still want to see these people fight better competition than what they are, like fighting these guys with negative records, and then coming to UFC off of these fighters, like beating a guy who's 5-6 or 4-6, and then coming to UFC. You really don't get to see his skill set, and that's really why I'm going to lean against him. Like, he might fight differently when you fight in better competition, but from what I've seen, he's good, but still didn't really fight the best competition. And then Brandon Davis, his record in the UFC against good competition might not be the best, but overall, when you look at the competition he fought to get into UFC, he fought better competition. Then obviously in the UFC, he fought top-notch competition. And it didn't go his way, and he's pretty much on the cutting board right now, on the chopping board right now, but he showed some good skill set. Zabit still had to grapple with him and had to respect his striking, and Zabit's a beast, so if Zabit's respecting you anyway, that's a good thing. Cal Bochniak was enforcing the grappling in that fight, and it still was a close fight against Bochniak. You could say the Enrique Barzola fight was one-sided, but the other fights, he pretty much was competitive in all the fights against all his fighters. And we look at how he lost, it was due to grappling. I don't see too much of grappling from Randy Costa. So hasn't fought the best competition. Haven't really seen too much grappling from him, or like takedowns, wrestling, really more than grappling. Like get him on the ground and wrestle him. His grappling defense has been pretty good. Obviously against Zabit, who's a phenom, that's a whole different thing. That's a different ball game. But against other people, his grappling looks solid. His takedown defense looked okay, fair enough. But I don't think Randy Costa's going to really be trying to grapple with him. I really haven't seen that from Randy Costa. So I'm just really going to lean to Brandon Davis. Hasn't lost to somebody that's another striker in the UFC, or somebody who just went with a striking game plan against him in the UFC so far, for the better competition, much better competition. And I'm going to lean to him off of his experience. And I feel he'll be able to grind out a gritty decision. I think they're both going to get in kind of a war, because Randy Costa is talking about winning the war. Brandon Davis is not shy to a war, so it's going to be a kind of a war. Well, I think Brandon Davis' experience in like fighting a better competition is going to favor him in this fight. Competitive, close, but I got Brandon Davis via decision. So again, Brandon Davis via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Lauren Mueller versus Poliana Botelho. So Botelho's coming off her first loss. Lauren Mueller's coming off, I guess, her first loss in the UFC. So both coming off a loss. Lauren Mueller, actually, prior to that loss, was looking pretty good to me. She had a good foot movement, good chain and combos, mixing the takedowns. But in that last fight, she just laid an egg. Like, her movement was like not there. Her striking and her whole, I guess, maybe she had a bad training camp, a bad mental thing going to that fight. But where the case looked bad, she got submitted, and what she normally did, she got done to her, and this looked bad. And against an opponent who really wasn't all there skill-wise, how you just kind of just lay a complete egg like that. That was a fight she should have won, but got pretty much lost all the frames of that fight. Poliana Botelho, I'm forgetting who she fought, but I know exactly who she fought. But she fought another fighter who was trying to come back of a loss, and got the pretty much grappled and showed her weakness to a grappling. On the feet, she's a beast, but when you take her down, she's not the best. But I don't think Mueller's grappling is as good as that opponent. And as far as this all like recent performance, I think Mueller's performance was the most disappointing and stuff. And if she's gonna fight like that, I think she's gonna get stopped. And Poliana Botelho, still a developing fighter, so I think she's gonna prove on grappling, knowing that might be Mueller's main chance to win. So it's really gonna be about sprawling and brawling. She's gonna be prepared for what Mueller brings. And if Mueller fights any bit like she fought in that last fight, she's going to get destroyed. And I see she's still going to have to be a little bit timid from that fight. And I see Poliana Botelho just eventually to start landing heavy strikes on her. And when she starts landing on Mueller, I think Mueller's going to start to crumple, and she's going to get finished. Be kind of close, filling out in the first round. In the second round, Botelho's going to put it on her and get her out of there. So in this fight, I have Poliana Botelho via second round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Montel Jackson versus Andre Soukhamthath. So in this fight, you got Montel Jackson, who's looking like a nice prospect in this weight class, 135. Came in, lost a decent enough fight to a world-rounder fighter who's a two-weight world champion outside the UFC. Came in for him, or fought him in the second fight, whatever case. He fought an experienced guy, lost a pretty decent enough fight against him. And then the second fight, he just destroyed least a promising fighter in Brian Keller, who was looking good at one point at this weight class, and he dispatched him rather easily. Then you got Andre Soukhamthath, who has all the talent, but his fight IQ is pretty low. So you got two skilled fighters going against each other, and we got one fighter who definitely can be real good, and you got another fighter who's good, but you got one fighter with low IQ. I'm going to lean to the fighter that doesn't have that low IQ. So I can see it being competitive. I can see Andre Soukhamthath winning. But if this fight's competitive and it's coming down to who's going to do the right stuff at the right moments, or take, the right stuff, or who's going to make the least slip-ups, avoid the slip-ups, avoid the dumb stuff, you're going to lean to the guy who's not going to do that dumb stuff. Like Soukhamthath, he might even be able to win this fight. Matter of fact, if his fight IQ was better, and given his experience, I might pick him over Montel Jackson, but given that fight IQ, I really can't lean to him in this fighting. If the fight is competitive, it's going to go to Montel Jackson. He's going to do the necessary stuff to win the fight if it's a decision. He's going to do the necessary stuff if he needs a finish, do the finish, or he's going to take advantage of openings where Andre Soukhamthath might overlook things. So I'm just going to say it's going to be a competitive fight where Montel Jackson's going to do the necessary stuff, and Andre Soukhamthath might slip on a banana peel again and just cost himself to fight yet another fight. So in this fight, I got Montel Jackson via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Curtis Millender versus Belal Muhammad. And this is a very, very interesting fight right here. Both fighters coming off losses. Both fighters were riding pretty good winning streaks. I think Millender was like on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC. Belal was, I think, on a 5-fight winning streak. Then he lost. Curtis Millender's winning streak was like on 10 or 9, or you conclude his fights outside the UFC. So they both were on pretty good winning streaks. And then they both lost in their last fight. Millender submitted in the first round in about under a minute. Belal Muhammad got beat from pillar to post to a 3-round decision against another rising prospect. But you look at the stats between these two people, it's really all in Belal Muhammad's favor, but it's too much in his favor. That's kind of sketchy. Like Belal Muhammad is pretty much only lost like 5-1 in fights inside the UFC where he's got one or more takedowns. And Curtis Millender gives up like a takedown every fight. So seemingly, like, based on those stats, Belal Muhammad should win. Millender just got submitted in the last fight. I'm not saying Muhammad was necessarily going to have to grab him and submit him, but he can take him down and exploit that stuff. He can pressure him and exploit that. So he's a good boxer with pressure and takes you down, controls. He's very good fight IQ for what his skills that he brings. Knows how to win decisions, knows how to win fights. He knows how to control the pace and all that stuff. So a very good, solid fighter in Belal Muhammad. And also he's tough. He's not just a glass chin, lay and pray guy. He can box. He can take a punch on the chin. He can get up from a punch on the chin, get up from a kick to the chin or whatever stuff, like head kick. So he's a tough guy with a very good style and a very good fight IQ. But I'm going to lean to Curtis Millender because I feel like it's too good to be true. I think also why I'm kind of favoring Millender is how quickly he's returning against the fighter he's choosing to return against. Because he could have easily turned this fight down or pick somebody else, but he chose to go with this fight. This fight is a very tough fight for him, and he's returning with like 2 months or less after losing in such a disappointing fashion. So I'm feeling he's trying to out to prove something. Belal Muhammad's out to prove something because they're both returning very quickly off losses. And I feel like Curtis Millender wouldn't return so quick against this opponent just to, I'm not going to prove my wrestling. I'm not going to prove this. I think he probably worked on those things in the camp. It just didn't show up in the camp. Show up in the fight. Worked on it in the camp, didn't show up in the fight. And he's coming in this fight to show that I am good in these areas. I just made a mistake. I slipped up. I improved, and I'm going to show you in this fight. And that's why I'm really going to lean heavily to Curtis Millender in this fight. I'm not saying heavily, but I'm saying I'm going to lean to him. And I got a good confidence in him based off the fact that he's choosing to take this fight, given the fact that he lost to the opponent he lost in the last fight, and given the skill set Belal Muhammad presents. I feel like with Belal Muhammad's style, he kind of is there to be for like the hand fighting because he likes to feel the range a lot. He likes to control the distance. So he can eventually pressure you, box you, or avoid heavy shots, then get it on the inside. And with that kind of style, it will allow Curtis Millender to hand fight. And Belal Muhammad doesn't throw as much heat as his previous opponent does. So you're going to be more in that range. You're not going to be trying to avoid getting hit with no big shot too much because Belal Muhammad's not like a volume striker or a heavy volume, just swinging haymaker type of dude. So he can be in that, that boxing kind of range or that kind of mid range. I'm not saying like long range, but that mid range and kind of that's probably the best range to defend the takedown because you're not on your back foot as much, and you'll be able to pick him apart with the hand fight. And I think Millender has much better hand fighting, and from that range, he can find success against Belal Muhammad. I think competitive fight, Belal Muhammad gets some takedowns, but I think Curtis Millender shows that he has what it takes to win this fight. He's not just a one-trick pony or just a one-dimensional guy. He can like grind this fight out. Competitive, close, but I think Millender is gonna edge this fight very slightly in this fight, close, and I got Curtis Millender via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Boston Salmon versus Khalid Taha. So you got Boston Salmon, who's a very slick boxer, probably credential-wise one of the best boxers in the UFC, if not the best, based off his own saying. I'm not sure, I can't really agree with him being the best boxer in the UFC, but if he says it and his credentials pretty much stack up to that, I guess he has a good claim to that. But I'll say he's definitely probably top 5 credential-wise. Number 1 might be like kind of close, but credential-wise definitely top 5 within the UFC. Then you got Khalid Taha, pretty decent striking, pretty decent grappling. Nothing too spectacular, pretty much like kind of an average fighter. Not the best striking, but they can mix in grappling, good condition, can fight for, 3 rounds and push a high pace. Nothing really spectacular about his striking, nothing really spectacular about his grappling or his wrestling, but pretty run-of-the-mill. Boston Salmon's boxing is stellar. He has a pretty good skill set. He has a good mindset for fighting. He's composed. He's not somebody that gets, caught up in the moment. He sticks to his game plan throughout. He sticks to his skills throughout. He doesn't turn into get engaged in the brawls or engaged in where the fight's going. He always keeps his technique first, and that's a real good thing for a fighter coming up. Trains with a good gym, trains with Max Holloway, so he'll have Max Holloway, or at least he will have been along Max Holloway throughout his training camp and seen Max Holloway rise up, both from Hawaii, etc., train together. And all that being said, that's gonna rub off on him. He's gonna be able to see what Max Holloway does, look at the very best fighters in the UFC, or seeing one of the very best fighters in the UFC, and see how they train, see their skill set, see what they do day in and day out, and he'd be able to implement that in his own fighting camp, and also been on the same card, like I said. So, but that being said, I think Boston Salmon's weaknesses, or one of his weaknesses right now, is that he's too accepting of the clinch against the cage. A lot of times he gets his back to the cage, allow even lower tier fighters to really get on his hips with the takedowns. It's just that maybe they don't have the skills to fully secure the takedowns, so that's why his takedown defense is still high. But against higher level competition, he's got to fix that, because they're going to put him on his butt like probably every single time he allows them to get there. Because I'm not really seeing the best, cage defense for takedowns. He's not really getting the underhooks from the initial. He allowed them to get too early to the takedowns. Usually people have to fight to get to that point. It's like he just kind of gives it up. And it's because he's fighting lower tier competition that he's getting away with it. But maybe a guy like Khalid Taha can exploit that. But other than that, I think striking wise, Boston Salmon should be able to just have his way with Khalid Taha. Just those big looping shots, or trying to get up close and land some power, but not the most technique by striking. Khalid Taha, Salmon could just box him up all day long with his boxing. And I think even if he gets taken out at this point, I think his composure is going to be too much. I think Khalid Taha can exploit that grappling hole, but I think with his composure and being that year out, he's probably worked on that. And given that that's probably Khalid Taha's only path to victory, I think Boston Salmon's going to seal that up and just be able to box him up for, 3 rounds. As a matter of fact, I think he stops him late in the 3rd round, try to make a statement, not just go out there and just get a win. We'll try to make a little bit of a statement in that 3rd round, probably box him up for the first 2, then get a late round, stop in the 3rd round and say, I'm here, and make a statement in his UFC debut. So in this fight, I have Boston Salmon via 3rd round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Max Griffin versus Zalim Imadaev, I believe his name is, or Imadaev. So Zalim is a pretty good prospect. Like, he got that whole little small mini documentary or this and that. Some people saying he's the next Zabid or next Khabib and stuff right there. But I haven't quite seen it yet. He's very aggressive. Haven't really seen his grappling too much, so we can't really see how good that is. His striking, really just aggression right now. And that can get you pretty far in the game, but it's never going to get you to the top. He has a pretty good time with that spin elbow. He has some real heavy hands. I like that about him, some real heavy hands. I like his mindset. It might be a little bit stupid, but it's pretty good mindset. He doesn't like to lose. He goes hard in the gym, like one of those people like young and kind of dumb. They go hard in the gym, don't want to tap, don't want to do this, don't want to do that. They just want to win all the time. And that kind of transfers over into the fight, because how you train is how you fight. You're not going to want to quit in the cage. You're not going to want to tap out. You're not going to do this. That's going to transfer well in the cage. But over the time, burning yourself out in the gym is going to cause you to fall well short of your dreams and aspirations, because you're going to be so beat up and worn out from the gym eventually that you're going to stall out and have a short career. So in this fight, he definitely had a chance, because Max Griffin does often allow people to gauge in their brawl. And he's not shy to no brawling. And Max Griffin will get in these firefights, which will allow Zalim to at least fight his fight. But I think Max Griffin, being the experienced fighter he has, he can kind of walk him into those punches like he did with Perry. Was it Mike Perry? Platinum Mike Perry, yeah, that's his name. Yeah, Mike Perry. Mike Perry wanted to brawl, was trying to throw these hooks to get inside. But when you're just walking down people and trying to not really doing too much head movement and loading up on strikes, that allows you to just get hit, like, get pop shot or pot shotted. Because you're just walking with your hands down, trying to swing these big shots. I think Zalim's hands are faster than Mike Perry's. His versatility is a little bit better than Mike Perry's, but still walking, just trying to land these big shots and engaging brawls, you might get walked into punches. And I can see that happening. I can see Zalim landing some big shots because Max Griffin will allow it. But really, just to get to the point, I think going to go with Max Griffin's experience and his skill set, be able to walk Zalim into punches. Zalim will have some good shots. He has some good spinning kicks. He's very fast, very athletic, a lot of power, a lot of versatility to his striking. But again, a lot of it's aggression, and also, like a lot of fighters, not the best of competition. I think he'll improve coming in the UFC, but I still can't lean on him just yet coming into this fight in the UFC. I haven't really been able to see the technical aspects of him, and he really hasn't spent too much time fighting inside the cage. Maybe outside the cage he has, but inside the cage, mostly first round knockouts. I think 1, 2, third round knockouts. Never been to a decision, and hasn't really fought the best competition. So I really can't lean to him. I think Max Griffin is going to be able to walk him into punches. It's going to be a firefight. He will have a shot, definitely with that power, and definitely with Max Griffin allowing that firefight. But I think eventually Max Griffin's experience is going to kick in. He'll be able to walk him into shots and win that firefight. I don't think it's going to be a stoppage, but it's going to be one of those firefights that go to the decision. So in this fight, I got Max Griffin via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the flyweight division, Wilson Reis versus Alexandre Pantoja. Yeah, I believe that's his name. Alexandre Pantoja. Well, he's not Mexican, so it's Alexandre Pantoja. But yeah. Alexandre Pantoja is a good fighter in this weight class, good prospect coming up. I think he came off, well, I don't think he came off that season of the champions, or the season of champions, and the season that, where the champions went on to fight Demetrius Johnson. And since then, I think he's undefeated in UFC since that season. Or maybe he had one loss, but really he's been looking stellar since that season. Ever since coming off that season. Wilson Reis has been on a downtrend. I think after losing to Mighty Mouse, he lost to Cejudo. I think he lost a close fight to somebody else. Hasn't been looking the best, but still he's a solid fighter. If he can implement his grappling, his top-notch grappling, this should be his fight to win. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Pantoja's grappling is ever improving. I think on the feet, he just has more tools. He has better muay, better in the clinch, harder punches, sharper punches. Wilson Reis kind of has he has good body kicks, some good hooks, but those straight punches are going to beat those hooks. And that's going to beat that kick, beat those leg kicks when you get hit with a straight down the pipe when you're trying to load up on these kicks, load up on these body shots, trying to load up on these wind-up shots. Those shorter, cleaner, crisper strikes of Pantoja's going to beat him there. I think his grappling has improved enough. I think competitive fight, Wilson Reis will secure some takedowns, but I think Pantoja's going to be composed and be able to get back to his feet. Like I said, beat him to the punch with those straight line shots. Probably mix up in the clinch, land some body shots with some knees to the body from the Muay Thai clinch or from the Muay Thai palm grip, the double grip or whatever. Competitive fight with takedowns, but I think Pantoja's going to be able to wear him down with those straight line shots, mixing up to the body and the head, foot movement, grappling defense. But I think Pantoja wins this one. I think he's going to be able to neutralize the grappling and pick him apart on the feet for the most part. So in this fight, I have Alexandre Pantoja via decision. Now on to our next fight. Now on to our main fight on the prelims we have in the lightweight division, Jalen Turner versus Matt Frevola. So Frevola is a solid fighter, has some solid striking. He's very tough, very durable for the most part, some decent grappling. But Jalen Turner has the height by a large amount, like 6'3". I think he's the much better striking, and he's no slouch in the grappling. So, like I said, Matt Frevola is not a bad fighter. He's very, very solid fighter. But I think Jalen Turner is just too crisp on his feet, and I think Frevola has enough of a grappling advantage to really implement it in this fight. So it really is going to fall on Jalen Turner's huge advantage in the striking, his reach, his versatility on the feet. I just think he stops Frevola. I think he's able to hand fight with him, mix some hooks in, catch him, and exploit his huge reach advantage, and just pick apart Frevola. I think he stops him in the first round via TKO. So in this fight, I got Jalen Turner via first round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the prelims of UFC 236, Holloway versus Poirier 2. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.